Well, thank you, Bruce, for that clarification. Since there is such a dramatic change in the scope of the project, I don't see us pushing it forward anymore until you guys, Bismarck Futures and Bismarck Industries, gets that new fresh eyes to be able to look at that and bring forward your vision for what your guys' vision is compared to what it was in the past. Since there is a change in the scope of the project, that original contract, as far as how I feel, should not be extended. It should be come back through with new ideas, new numbers, and be presented to the city commission at that time.
Well, I think that would still have might have some merit, but again, I think 6 months is a reasonable amount of time to ask for that when you look at the complete scope. Again, based on what we invest, what we have done so far, and what we have acquired, we think 6 months is a reasonable time. Again, maybe you don't think 6 months is reasonable.
Mayor and Commissioners, and Bruce and I understand your dilemma that you're in, and I visited with you prior to that. And like I said, I believe in the project and how it was come about. I believe in that we need to do something with that area. I still do not believe in how you're funding that project.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Mr. Mayor.
Commissioner Ashby?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, Bruce. I don't have questions, but I have some thoughts. I don't know if others have questions, so I don't want to cut anybody off. But so if there's other questions, maybe we can get to that and come back, I guess. I just wanted to jump in because I'm ready to
Go ahead and move ahead. We can always come back to questions. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, Bruce, I want to thank you. I want to thank Ron for the update in Futures and Industries and all of the groups for it. But I have to agree with Commissioner Marquardt that I think the scope has changed very significantly in terms of what you're proposing. And I would say that I'm excited about the fact that you want to take and look at this with a fresh set of eyes. What I would say is, just like a lot of things and delays happened in the 18 plus months that you've had to dig through this, so have things changed from the city perspective as well. And I know you referenced Renaissance Zone in your statement that you made and in your presentation, and I think that's an important consideration. And I don't necessarily disagree with your categorization that it's a bargaining chip. It may be, but here's the reality and the dilemma we're facing. The dilemma we're facing is we have a project that has changed very drastically from what was originally agreed to in the agreement. Secondly, we're facing a very successful program in the Renaissance Zone, facing very clear uncertainty because of the overlap with the existing TIF, which, good, bad, or indifferent, has become a lightning rod from where it is. What we also face is it's very clear from statements made by county officials, school board officials, and others in public settings and recorded and otherwise, is that if there isn't a TIF and a Renaissance Zone overlap, that the Renaissance Zone issue would move forward and be approved. And so when you have a program that has delivered over $52 million in investment over the life of its program, had 100 plus projects delivered, and that's being placed at serious risk because there's another 6-month delay after over 18 months of consideration. And I think you know as well, it's gone back farther than that. And so I think that I'm certainly not in favor of making the assignment just simply from the standpoint of, if we want a fresh set of eyes to look at that, I think that should happen. And I think exploring the use of either Renaissance Zone, if we can get that extended and continued, and or a project-specific TIF to evaluate how those items might move forward and a project could and should happen down there is appropriate, but that given the current circumstances, that can't happen. And I have to tell you, and you and I have had this conversation too, Bruce, and I appreciate your comment that, welcome to development, it takes time, but sometimes those time constraints run into other time constraints as well, and we as an entity have to weigh that. So it's my long way of getting, and Mr. Mayor, if you want, I'm happy to make a motion, given that it's pretty clear that Mr. Cardin stepping aside as master developer effectively nullifies the agreement in many aspects. And so if you're ready for a motion, I'm going to move that we direct staff to close the existing TIF district, that all funds collected after July 1 of 2017 be distributed in full proportion to each political subdivision. Additionally, that all funds collected before July 1 of 2017 be used to pay any outstanding TIF project debts, and that any remaining balance after those obligations be distributed proportionally to each political subdivision.
Second that.
There's a motion and a second. Discussion, commissioners. Any other comments, commissioners? I'm going to share a couple. First of all, from day one, I have been very appreciative of all the efforts. From day one, this is regarding 5 South. I don't know that there's been a bigger supporter than me. And if you look back at all the ways I've been attacked, you probably would agree. I've probably been as big a supporter, and I have been dragged through the coals and kicked and beat, and many, many interesting things have been said about me. Majority of them false. False narratives have been created about the project and the people and the tools, and our community is torn apart at present. Torn apart. But where a place we're at right now is not healthy, it's not sustainable, in fact, it's disgusting. Period. That's what's happened. That's what's happened since this project started, and a little bit before that. So here's how I look at it. Project is critically important, and it's changed dramatically. I don't know that we could honestly say it's still one that it really is attracting and retaining talent in its current form. And to have a 6-month look at it based on economics, even with the current TIF, I don't know that we get there, based on my conversations with staff. Secondly, in terms of the project, my conversation with staff indicates that project-specific TIF has lots of merit if we were to close the current one down. So here's really where I'm leaning. Given the dramatic change from, and it's in Mr. Cardin's letter, I think starting over is probably a good idea for our community. Does it present some hardship probably for some? It could. It might. There are still investments that exist, and there are still tools that can be used. There is still support at the commission table, irrespective of the vote. When we vote here momentarily, there's support. And you're telling us there's also support from the community. But I agree with Commissioner Aspig's take. We have a proven track record of successful implementation of a like tool, one that's granted to us by the state legislature with all of its current modifications. It's been very successful. Risking the loss of that is not good. Risking the loss of a 5-year extension, understanding that we have no idea what the next legislature will do. We have no idea what they'll do with this or TIF. But given the cards that are currently on the table, we know that there's a 5-year extension available to us. We also know there are projects that are in queue. There is interest in that program. Losing that is a proven tool that we've used well on the anticipation that in 6 months we have some type of a project that all of a sudden there's enough support at the table and there's enough support at the community level, which there will not be at the community level. There will not be. We've watched this long enough to know exactly what's going to happen. And I don't mean to sound like a pessimist, but you've been attacked as long as I have over things like this. You have a pretty good feeling for where it's going to go. So I'm going to support it because I think we can still accomplish a lot. I am absolutely convinced that since the investments are still there, There's the tool of project-specific TIF. I believe there will be an absolute willingness on the part of the other political subdivisions to work together. Should they not do that, shame on them. Let's be really candid and frank about something with regards to the economic development of the entire county. It's in the city, period. It's in the city. And if we don't work together, shame on us. This gives us an opportunity to do that. And if we really are sincere community-wide about attracting and retaining talent, which is the lifeblood of our future, we want that entrepreneurial ecosystem to do what it's supposed to do. And most of that will be driven out of the core of a city. That's just the way it works. People can argue about that or on the fringe. That's not where it happens. It happens in the core of the city. I believe we can get that done because I have that much confidence in us as a community, in Bismarck Futures, in Bismarck investors. I have that much confidence in the leadership that's in this room. And I think we have to have a break to get that done and move forward and save a current tool and come back and say, this is where we're going again as a community. Any other comments? Call the roll.
Commissioner Aspig,
Yes.
Markwart,
Yes.
Guy,
Yes.
Oban,
Yes.
Seminary,
Yes, motion passes.